Welcome back to CBS Mornings. We continue our look at one family story of a miscarriage and how they say abortion laws in Texas made their burden heavier. Ryan Hamilton told us how one hospital refused to help his wife after the initial treatment failed. And part two, he explains what happened when they were denied a procedure at a second hospital.
You want to panic, but you can't.
At this point, you're just thinking, get my wife safe.
Yeah, what are we going to do? Leave the baby inside her so she can get an infection, get sepsis, that can kill her?
After leaving the SurePoint Emergency Center, Hamilton immediately drove his wife, along with their 9-month-old daughter, to another hospital an hour away, where she was treated for 4 hours. And doctors confirmed again there was no fetal heartbeat. Hamilton asked CBS News not to name the hospital.
What do you think the delay is?
I think the delay is their confusion on what they're allowed to do. That's what it feels like. They feel scared. The doctors feel scared.
According to Texas law, abortions are illegal once a fetal heartbeat is detected, with exceptions for medical emergencies.
Did the doctor say she was okay?
This is what the doctor said. They said it was not enough of an emergency to perform a DNC. They told us we could have the procedure done. Maybe we could schedule it for a week or two later.
DNC stands for dilation and curettage, a surgical procedure to remove fetal tissue. It's used for both miscarriages and abortions. The law does not require there to be a medical emergency to perform a DNC if there is no cardiac activity, like in the Hamilton's case. In a statement, the hospital told CBS News it follows Texas and federal laws in accordance with national standards of care.
So it's no longer medical, it's legal.
That's what it feels like, and the conversation is not what's best for my wife. The conversation is on the hospital side, what should we do?
Doctors opted to give her a higher dose of medication and sent her home for a third time.
I was in the living room playing with our daughter, and I had a missed call on my phone from her. I go into our bedroom and then into the bathroom, and she is on the bathroom floor. There's blood where she fell from the toilet to the floor. She's unconscious. And her phone is still ringing to call me. So I picked her up. I put her back on the toilet. I had to dress her. And my only goal in that moment was to get her to the emergency room. Got to the hospital, ran inside, told them what was happening, and they took her in. And you know what they said? Thank God you brought her.
Did you think at any point that you were going to lose your wife?
Yes. Yeah.
So what happens next?
At that point, we're able to verify that the baby is no longer with her. Oh. It's hard because you know where the baby went. The baby had...
Come out.
I don't even know the words.
The medicine did what it was supposed to do.
Yeah.
So
the baby's no longer there. Then it's just a matter of getting her to the point where she could go home.
did you feel that she would be okay at home?
No. She's still bleeding when she gets home. Still bleeding right now.
What do you want people to know about your experience?
I want people to know that this really happens. My fear is that stories like ours will continue to get told and not believed. Everything in her life right now that she's having to do to get better is not just a reminder of the baby that we lost. It's a reminder of what they put her through. And she has to do it every day.
Hamilton tells CBS News he does not plan to sue any of the hospitals involved, but that he hopes his story can help other families in the future. And he says he and his wife will now be focusing on each other, on healing and therapy.
All right, Omar, you're sticking around as we all try to compose ourselves after this story. To help us understand what happened, let's bring in CBS News medical contributor, Dr. Celine Gounder. Dr. Gounder, good morning. I'm trying to understand this. I think all of us are. Hamilton's wife took one of two medications often prescribed to complete a miscarriage. What is unusual about her case?
Good morning, Vlad. And to the point you're making really in your question is one of two medications. She was given misoprostol. Very often, two medications are given, mifepristone and misoprostol. Mifepristone helps shed the uterine lining and the placenta. Misoprostol results in uterine contractions. She was only given misoprostol, one of the two medications. We know that the combination of both medications is more effective in these situations. Secondly, she was quite late in her first trimester, and using medications like these to help her pass the miscarriage is somewhat unusual this late in the first trimester.
Something I want to add here, too, that Ryan told us is that when he got the medicine for his wife, there was no instructions as far as what to expect. It's not take 2 pills orally and call me in the morning. It's not administered that way. I don't want to get too graphic. But he says they were in the dark. They didn't know how to do it correctly and what to expect. And that itself in that situation is scary.
What we should say is that the medicine had to be inserted. I think people should understand it because I didn't even know that that was part of the story.
Yeah.
I think it adds something to it.
It does. Let's bring Dr. Gounder back in. At the second hospital, Hamilton says his wife was denied a procedure called a D&C because they were told that this wasn't a medical emergency. What do you make of that?
Well, I think they're confusing care for a woman who wants an abortion with care for a woman who has a, frankly, dead fetus. There was no fetal heartbeat. You do not need to have a medical emergency to undergo a D&C when the baby is dead. And it really should be guided, one, by how far a woman is into pregnancy and also what her personal preferences are. That would be the way most of these situations really should be managed.
I don't know, Celine, if not having a dead fetus inside you isn't a medical emergency, that's what I can't wrap my brain around. That they go and the doctors acknowledge that this baby is not, there is no heartbeat, and yet there's nothing that they can do. So if people find themselves, how unusual is this situation, number one? Number two, if you find yourself in a situation like this, what should you do? To Ryan's point, he just wants people to know that this could happen to you, depending on where you live.
Yeah, and I think people are not aware of how common miscarriages are. 1 out of every 5 pregnancies end in miscarriage. This is a common experience for women. And so it's really scary that here you have a woman going through something that's actually quite common and having such a frustrating time getting the care that she needed. There are ways to report situations, not just for care for a miscarriage, but really for any emergency care, any care in the emergency room where you feel like you're not getting appropriate care, where you're not being stabilized prior to discharge. That can be reported to the government and investigated.
And one last thing, Ryan just said he wanted everybody to know that it can happen anywhere, to anyone. He wants people to speak up. And personally, he just wants the old-fashioned thing, people to put him on his prayer list in his community.
Wow.
Bring food over when a loved one dies. So similar things like that, just to help them heal. He's not sure if he's going to get that in his community.
I'm very touched by him, though, that he tells the story so articulately.
Yeah.
Wow.
Incredible.
Omar Villafranca, thank you. Appreciate you. Dr. Celine Gounder, thank you as well.